it's Mark, and I'm back with another video. That's some heavy music for a heavy day in the market. A lot of things were down, but a lot of things are up too. You just gotta look in the right places. I was looking through my supernova scan, which is one of my favorites right now, because supernovas in the past, while they were a really good setup, they kind of dwindled out in the past few years. Well, I'd say even more than that. In the past 7 years or so, they haven't been such a good setup like the ones we've seen with like BBIG, where it just goes straight down. You know, it's Sirius satellite, SIRI. Those just went straight down after they went up, and that used to never happen. You know, like, well, I mean, it used to never happen recently. Like, the idea behind that setup was that they would go up and up and up, and the where it comes from is from penny stocks, like the OTC pink sheets, or mostly the OTC. But they would go up over day and day from pumps, and then once the volume dried out, once the buy volume stopped, they would just crash. So there was never really a bounce. You know, they just went straight down like a waterfall. So you saw that with BBIG and Siri. So I'm just watching these, and I've been making mental notes because I've been seeing these just go straight down. So the setup is back as far as the predictability. But like I was saying, in the past few years, there's probably 4 to even 10 years, maybe the setup has just kind of died out, where they used to just go straight down. Then they would kind of just, you know, go sideways for a long time and, you know, chop everybody up. So the setup kind of died out. Like, I quit trading them completely, like, last year, because they just weren't a good setup. You know, even the best ones, they just never really panned out. But I just keep seeing these now, and with the market being pretty hot, you know, you've got a lot of these small cap runners and these really low float and high momentum stocks. Like, I was just looking at I didn't realize this until I went through my scans, but Rite Aid ran today. Rite Aid was up like 30% or something. Ticker RAD. Let's just look at that one real quick. Yeah, when just had a spike. I don't know, I haven't checked the news or anything, but that's one to keep on watch and see if they'll just do another Siri or another. Well, now we've got Yell and Tup. So I've got a screener that I screen for those, so it tells me when they're up enough. Like the one I'm looking at now, it needs to be up more than 20% over the last 4 days, and it's more than 10% over the last day. But basically, they end up being, they're usually up like 300% or so by the time I find them, or by the time they're worth trading. So I just went through my scan for some new ones, and there's some that could be setting up. Like this RBT is crazy. This RBT, that one went from 20 or 30 cents to $1.73, and it looks like it's still going. And it actually printed a good print today, so I wouldn't be surprised if that one keeps going. But I'm not really trying to trade it long. But I think I'm going to just focus more on these supernovas now, because they're coming about a lot, and they're very predictable, especially now with the way they just keep going down and down. So let's look at the ones, the current ones. We've got YELL. I talked about this one yesterday, and I thought it would. I think I said I thought it would open up at like 320, and it looked like it opened up at 360. So I was a little off, but got the idea. So even if it flags, I think it's going to have another day or two. But I mean, it's still an inside bar, so it could just keep running. But obviously, the play on these supernovas is to short the technical weakness. So if it starts to break down again, even if it hits like looks like the low is 327, starts going on 320, you know, If it goes red tomorrow, it's a short, or long puts. I mean, of course, it could just blast off, but with the stock being up, 400%, they usually don't do that. But like I was saying, though, it's still a setup. So TUP is the next one. TUP, talked about that one too. I've just kind of been bringing the dynamite to the dynamite stocks name here. This one went down. They all went down about 30% today. It's like they're neck and neck on their weakness. This one's a short on red, like another red day. Starts going red in a day, it's short. And I have a hunch that these are just gonna go. If they really do die out here, they're just gonna keep going down, kind of like the BBIG. But Tupperware is a legitimate company, though, so like you don't expect it to go straight down, but we'll see. Like there's definitely these bear raids where there's the short sellers just pile in, and that's a pretty good thing to be in a trade where the short sellers are just taking over the stock. I mean, honestly, I would rather short. If I had to pick a trading style, I like to short, because the moves happen quickly and with a lot of velocity, and the main thing is that it's like the velocity of the move is really strong. Like it doesn't go sideways. They just go down. Like ideally, I'd like to trade a market that's crashing. Honestly, like that's the easiest to trade, because you can kind of mess up the trade and still come out on top. Whereas the stock's slowly trending upwards, can have a lot of pullbacks, and if you don't time it perfectly, there's a lot more room for error when it's just trending upwards slowly with pullbacks. Whereas the stock that's crashing just goes straight down, basically like BBIG. So it's hard to mess that up. Yeah. But the other one, I finally shorted this one. This one I started talking about this one back when it was like $9 or $8 a share. It's $6 now. I bought puts on this one, which is great. It's always nice when there's puts available and they're liquid. AOI, that was another supernova I looked at. I was looking at this one back before it cracked, and this one's got some it's kind of a slow one, but it just came up to a channel resistance here. So if it breaks, let's see if I can zoom in here. So if it breaks this trend line, right here, then it's a short, because it's just going to do what it did here. See how it broke that trend line there, and it just crashed perfectly off that. I mean, it's really textbook. This is really like great technical action here. So watch for that one. It may have one more day where it just kind of messes around here, but it's definitely a short. I wouldn't try to long it. Just looking for all these supernovas. I think, URGN. Yeah, the URGN. That one's a good one too, and it's consistently falling. But the way it's falling, it looks more like a bull flag, actually. It kind of looks like a consolidation. Like there's not much sell volume. The sell volume's been kind of light, and it hasn't really had any day range like the spike days. So kind of hesitant to trade that one, but it is still a supernova setup if if it breaks below the 1865 area. So it needs to take out that, if it takes out some support, if it cracks support, it's still a short because it's the supernova. Once it gets down to about halfway of the spike up, then I'd say there's more odds of it, bouncing. So that one's a short setup. I'm really excited about these supernovas. After the BBIG, that one was a really good one, and I actually traded that one really well. Like I really got some good hopes here that these runners keep up, because the more stocks that run, the more supernovas there are, and it's just the nature of the way it goes nowadays. So those were the only ones. There were a couple that had looked like they might have been developing, but nothing to report back on right now. So let's go to the overall market, because I was watching that a lot the past couple days. I've been staying on top of these breakdowns. The Nasdaq here, it failed to make a higher high, and it just cracked some support. But it's not really like, if you look at the day range, I think it was down like maybe 2%, or it was down 2% on the day. It's not really indicative of a catastrophic panic sell-off that would be a top, like a major top. Like if there was going to be a top, it would be like maybe a 3% spike, or like, something crazy. The VIX did spike, but it's been doing that before. It just kind of comes back down. So my hunch is that we're going to go range bound. So this trend line here, I think it's probably more likely to bounce, and we just kind of go sideways, and the overall market goes sideways for weeks. But I'm not particularly bullish at this point in the year, with the market already being up 30%. Like if you look at the history, I just saw that in 1954, somebody posted that I think the largest market gain in a year was 45%, and that was in 1954. And I don't know about you, but I don't think 1954 is comparable to the economy now, because 1954 saw the expansion from the post-war years. The post-war expansion was amazing. Still in the pent-up demand phase. Well, you could say there was a lot of pent-up demand from COVID too. I think that's probably what people are overlooked, and that I was always thinking about, during COVID and after COVID, was the pent-up demand, where there was just people weren't spending money, and then once they can spend money, there's a lot of things they were going to buy that they didn't buy, and do that they didn't do. So but I still think it's a long shot to compare the GDP and I don't know what the GDP or the 50s was off the top of my head, but obviously the economy was a lot stronger back then, in many ways. So I'm not in the camp that the market's going to keep going straight up the rest of the year. And you can kind of see I saw that Microsoft kind of topped out like a week ago, or let's see. To me, Microsoft is kind of the barometer for the tech market and the overall market, in a way, because this whole rally, in a sense, has been fueled by AI, and the AI incorporation in a lot of companies, and Microsoft, I would say, it's pretty easy to argue it has the strongest footing in the lead AI company with OpenAI, because Microsoft is partnered and invested with OpenAI. So Microsoft has kind of been the litmus for the AI market, and thus the overall market. So I think Microsoft is a thing to look at when you're looking at for direction. Looking back in January, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Microsoft was one of the first companies to break out in January and February. My hunch is it was one of the first ones, but you can see it's just been in an uptrend all year. So I'm just drawing a trend line here for the year basically. So straight uptrend, not as tight as Meta, but it's an uptrend, and it formed a short-term top on the 19th. It topped out, and the earnings weren't bad, but you can see it's just been down since earnings, and that was sort of the pivot area for the market. Their earnings, I'm just trying to remember the gist of it was that they were going to push out revenue even further. Like they were looking for a gradual increase in revenue, which is not really exciting when the stock's already up so much. So like everything's baked, like a lot of things are baked in right now, like the revenue, the future revenue is kind of baked in. Like I think it's up to the small companies now to lead the way. So this is just a nice little channel here, and I'm just gonna watch this channel on Microsoft and see what happens, because I think that's gonna tell us what's gonna happen. Like you can see it did a little triangle there at the support level, but it's looking pretty nasty right now. Like it's not what you want to see for short-term strength. Like I just expect sideways. Best case is I think it goes sideways for the next week or a few weeks or a month or so. But really, I think honestly, I think it'll probably. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just sideways, for most of the rest of the year. It's kind of had its run, and as they were saying in their earnings call, like it's not going to be their revenue's not going to be impacted greatly in the near term. So, but long term, it's all good. Like I'm bullish on the long term for sure, but just something to keep in mind. This LUMN has been crazy. I'm glad I held my puts, because I'm sure they were down a lot, but it might be a failed signal there because it tried to break out. So that's one to watch for more breakdown. PLTR is just kind of messy. That's just a messy chart right now. It looks pretty toppy. I don't know. Like I'm not interested in that one. Let's look at RGTI, because it's been one of my favorites. Yeah, it's just kind of consolidated. Nothing to panic about really from a long standpoint. Trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to touch on that just caught my eye. Yeah, a lot of things. There's been a lot of setups out there. The run solar stocks. I posted up that chart that showed that the separation from oil and solar stocks have been increased greatly. There's a pair trade with short oil, long solar right now, based on the divergence from oil and solar. So this isn't updated. It's actually, it ran after hours to 19 something. So if it holds if we hold the highs for tomorrow, or if it goes green, I should say if it goes green tomorrow, this one's a long because it's got textbook. This is the bottom right now. So yeah, that one's a good one. But like I'm saying, I'm just gonna focus more on these supernovas because the setup is, it's highly predictable, and there's been a lot of range on the days. But I like swing trading or position trading with these options. So Cook was another one. This one looks like a failed signal. It just printed a shooting star. That shooting star up there, it's a shooting star candle, which is really bearish. And then it followed through off of that and cracked some support there. So this one, the balance sheet wasn't very good. It's the same with Taste. I was looking at some stocks that had some pretty bad balance sheets. This one, it's a food franchise. It's a food company. I'm trying to think of the name of the franchise or the kind of food it was, but anyway, their balance sheet was pretty bad, really bad. And this one, it might be a top, so we gotta watch. That one's a good short on if it breaks this trend line. It's basically a triangle, so that's a good one to watch short. The ADT's still good too. I've got those puts. ADT, this one's just kind of going sideways, and I think this one's going to be disrupted over the long term by robotics and security. I've seen a lot of security robots. Even though they're not even that advanced, they just they can do what any kind of surveillance system can do. This AMSC, that was another one. That's another supernova, actually. I missed that one too. I thought it was probably going to be a good short because of just how much it was up, and then I think it might have been a CNBC pump. Like if it might have been on CNBC. I don't know. Maybe somebody knows about that, but because I don't watch CNBC, but this was another one where it's just a textbook huge percentage move. Like it went from 7 to 17 and then just straight down pretty much. I'm kind of curious what the intraday was like. Oh yeah, it went basically just straight down all morning. Wow. Yeah, from the open at 9:30, it opened up about 15:50, and then went down. Wow, pretty much in all that move was in about 2 hours. So with the move we had, the move down today in the market, it was all in the overnight session and the after hours. So keep an eye. I think the key time that the market's gonna keep going down, if it keeps going down, it's gonna be overnight. It's gonna be in the overnight or pre-market where most of the move is gonna be. And that's the way it was even last year. A lot of the moves, a lot of times the big percentage moves would be in the futures overnight. So whatever ES does, overnight is going to be the key. And I like this regional bank short here. I got the puts, but of course I didn't go large into it because the regional banks are pretty good at burning people, but it was kind of a leading indicator because it was down off the trend support yesterday, and that kind of was the storyteller there. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to touch on. I'm just looking at some other stocks here just to make sure I got everything. Oh yeah, let's go to another watch list. Yeah, that's CPTN. Man, did I miss that one? It must have made a move in the afternoon. This was one of my favorites right now. With the fundamentals and the triangle set up. Just a textbook move off a triangle. It's got trend support all the way down to there. But this one did pretty well today, considering it actually was up a good bit. That's one of my favorite ones right now. Like most of my other favorites didn't do so well. I mean, this is my favorite one, long of course, to buy, CPTN. What else was up today? Not much was up. Oh yeah, the CNK. I'm still holding these calls. I'm kind of puzzled that the CNK was up today. It's kind of interesting, because I mean the only major sector strength today was was mostly defensive and healthcare, stuff like that. So consumer staples like CVS was up, stuff like that. So this one's interesting. It's got that trend support. I'll probably take profit if it cracks that support line, or if we just get a big move. Like, I'm not looking for much. I was just looking for I'm looking for some strength up to resistance there at least. But that was a lot of volume that came in on the 19th. Ironically, that was when the Nasdaq topped out. The volume came in. That's interesting. So when the Nasdaq had its top, this one had its short-term bottom. So that's a good one. That's probably another favorite. That's my favorite long one also. Just because it had relative strength today. That's pretty impressive. The VIX, I think the VIX isn't even a good. I don't think it's a good market protector or any protection. Like we might see it go down even as the market goes down. So I'd be cautious buying puts or buying calls on the VIX. My hunch is like a lot of hedge funds and big institutions kind of just have that rigged. So it just their bread and butter, I think, is just shorting the VIX because it tends to go straight down. even on a lot of red days, it was down. So yeah, I gotta say the pair trade is to short oil and long solar, and to me the only really good solar stock is the run. And I guess the best play is to long the TAN TAN ETF, but I kind of like run, and they've been a good one. They're a good one, even though the prices are depressed. Like either TAN or run, or a combo long and then short oil is the statistical pair trade here. And it's funny, like I was just thinking about that yesterday, and then oil has this massive red day on volume. Of course, this is just the ETF, but this isn't even really indicative of the of crude oil, but because of the way the contracts roll and stuff, but yeah, this one, I mean, oil is a short and TAN's a long. Pretty simple. Yeah, semiconductors. Still they held up pretty good today. Like, I mean, they held that trend line, but we'll see what happens in the overnight session. It's a pretty good sell-off today. Pretty good volume and range in semis today. Another one's SMH. Like, it's kind of a little different. I'm not sure the weightings in these, but it's kind of the same story. Anyway, China's back in that range. It just loves that range. It's just it just loves to stay in that trading range here. And that's a failed signal right there. But it didn't even go up that much out of the range, so kind of did that back in March. But this will probably have some good downside for sure. I got some puts on this. I'm pretty spread out. Like, I'm pretty spread out in my options contracts. I've got a lot of puts and a lot of calls. I definitely had way more calls, and I just adjusted to more puts in select areas. Like, I didn't actually short the NASDAQ or anything. I just got puts in the best setups I saw. Yeah, there's a lot of things sold off today, but I'm just looking at these ones that are up again today, because that's probably telling. Yeah, the RBT, I talked about that one. Kirkland's is up. That one's not a runner from my memory. It doesn't run. I'm trying to think of stuff that can go up a lot more from these ones that are going. Let's look at 52-week highs. 52-week highs. What's the 52-week highs? Oh, that's cool. My NRDY was a 52-weeker. MITK, yeah, that one's a good one. That's a MITK. That one did really well in the last bull market. MITK, Medtech Systems. So even though the market was down today, like, it's not really. There's a lot of stuff that's up today, and even though it seemed like indiscriminate selling, like they moved into a lot of stuff here and there. There's a lot of stuff going up. But it's a pretty sad 52-week high list that I run. Not a lot of things on here, but I'll just end it. I'll end it at that, and I'll get back to you probably tomorrow, and we'll see how everything pans out. But I would expect, if there's going to be a sell-off, it's going to be in the overnight session, in the futures market. So we'll see. That's the way they do it these days. So it'll probably be another sideways day tomorrow, or mostly sideways. There's a lot of stuff making lows here. I'm just going through these 52-week lows. Looks pretty sad, or pretty good in the 52-week lows. Wow. I particularly like the ones that gap down too. So I'll go through those scans, and if I see anything pretty neat, like the TSVT, I think I said that right. Was it TSVT? Yeah. That's some weird tickers. If I see any like the that one, I'll post it up. Yeah, I got Peloton's back in the range too, so that's pretty weak. Like my hunch shows it goes lower, and I still got puts in that one, but we'll see how it plays out, and I'll catch you later.